I'm Mad Scientist, and I'm going to be comparing two major vampire universes. Today, we're going to be talking about power. Who has power? Who wants power? The difference between Twilight and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, well, there are many differences. But I think the one that is most prominent is who has power, who can get power, and what people do with their power. I think you'll see in watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer that Buffy has a very strong heroine. You'll notice, if you've read the books, that there's a stark difference between the main characters, Bella and Buffy. They have in common a few small idiosyncrasies. I mean, they both fall in love with vampires. They both have very strong values. They both are pretty strong characters in some ways. And you have Buffy, who is the Slayer, chosen to fight the vampires, the demons, and the forces of evil. Being the Slayer is her birthright. She did nothing to earn the title. She did nothing to be punished with the title. And it really is quite a struggle for her. But she has power. Twilight is sort of the counter thesis to Buffy. It's really more of your typical fairy tale story about a woman who is powerless, who is innocent. This is very contrary to Buffy's message, which is really one of empowerment. Knowledge is, I think, the most powerful force, the most powerful power, the most powerful ability in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I have to say that if the characters from Twilight were in Buffy, they probably would not last very long. That's not me saying Twilight is inferior to Buffy. I'm not going to take sides in that fight in this podcast. But I will say that the characters in Twilight have a lot more naivety than the characters in Buffy. None of Bella's friends, if you can really call most of them friends, are really aware of the dangers around them. And in the Buffyverse, that's the sort of thing that would get you killed. Also, I think Bella herself would probably not have made it through one episode, because she is just by far too trusting. If you learned anything at all from watching horror movies, it's that the bad guys are tricky. But in the Buffyverse, power is distributed pretty equally. Not everybody had superpowers. I mean, Xander certainly didn't. But he had knowledge that allowed him to survive through horrible situation after horrible situation, including knowledge of, say, CPR, which saves Buffy's life in season 1. In Twilight, power is not equally distributed. Power is severely unequally distributed. There are only two factions that have power in Twilight: the vampires and the werewolves, or shapeshifters, however you want to call them. I'm going to go with werewolves because werewolves is just so much more descriptive. But power is not equally distributed, and Bella herself, she's supposed to be the heroine, but she scarcely ever makes decisions the way you would imagine a heroine would do. She's not a strong person. She's a willful person, But she's not a strong person. She's not able to make tough decisions because it's the right thing to do most of the time. She thinks with her heart and not with her head. And she's supposed to be very rational and grown up, but she really isn't in a lot of ways. She chooses to get into situations that are very much against her own well-being and the well-being of her friends and family members, and even the well-being of the other vampires sometimes. And I'm not saying she should be more self-sacrificing, but I am saying that she lets her emotionality get to her. Now, I'm not saying Buffy is a whole lot better. If you've seen season 2 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you'll see that she herself sort of falls into one of those vampire situations where you're in love with him, but he's evil, but you're in love with him, but he's evil. And I think the point that I'm trying to make here is from the point of view of someone who really believes in the power that a woman has in life and the power that a person has over their own destiny. Coming from that point of view, from that mentality, Twilight is something of a, I'm going to say it's something of a compromise. Bella is pretty powerless, and that's a little disappointing. She's not able to defend herself in pretty much any situation she finds herself in. And sure, she eventually grows up to be the big bad vampire, spoiler alert. And she has, her psychic abilities or whatever. But for 3 books, we watch this poor, miserable woman try to fight her way through life, 'cause it is out to get her. And she has no ability to combat it. She is not at equal footing with her boyfriend, or with Jacob, or with the bad guys who are trying to kill her. No, she's not on equal footing with any of these people. And in the Buffyverse, Buffy is on equal footing, just consistently on equal footing with Angel, with Spike, more than equal footing with Riley. She's not just a fragile person, waiting for somebody to save her. She's taking charge of her own life, which I think is admirable. Bella is not able to do that. In fact, in the second book, she spends a lot of time moping and maybe not whining, but just with no control over her own feelings. Let's look at season 2 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer again. Buffy kills her boyfriend because it's the right thing to do. She doesn't let the world end because she loves someone. She kills her boyfriend, and it's not bad guy Angelus she kills, it's Angel. But yes, superpowers. Some people have them, some people don't. Anyway, this has been my first podcast, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much, and good night.